Welcome to the Real with Joseph Latman. I am Joseph Latman. I am back. The Real returns today on this lovely Saturday. Hope you guys are having a good day. Welcome on into the Real. Um, yeah, good to be back. It's been a long time since I've done this. It's been a couple months since I've been on camera and really done the show how I used to do them, how normally do them. Um, Was it planned? No, it was not planned. So, and that's why I'm here. I wanted to come on today just to share with you guys where I've been, what's been going on in my life the last 2 to 3 months, and where I am now on my journey. If you've been following me for a while now, for the last year since the beginning, then you understand or if you know me personally as well, my journey with anxiety I've been going through for the last 8 years. Um, why I've been gone the last 2 to 3 months was probably the most important 2 to 3 months um, in the last 8 years of my life. And so, in terms of my healing and my overall just growth in my life and moving forward in my life, turning that chapter in my life, turning the page, and you know, um, turning the page of that chapter of my life, and just looking forward to what I want to do with my life in terms of who I want to be, goals I have, and all those things. And so, and the reason why I say that is because for a long time, guys, the anxiety that I was going through for a while was, you know, let me start here. So, anybody that's ever been through anxiety disorder, panic disorder, whatever, agoraphobia, hypochondria, whatever it is, your whole life really revolves, or like you literally think your whole life revolves around the anxiety itself. The anxiety dictates how far you can go. The anxiety dictates what you think you're capable of doing. The anxiety dictates all kinds of things, just who you think you can be and who you want to be. And it's almost like you set limits on yourself. You're living out of that fear. It's an illusion. It's an unconscious fear you're living out of. And that was me for a long time. And when I started this podcast a little over a year ago, I was still going through a lot of things. That was a big moment in my life, obviously, and I'll never forget that day, what that felt like. That was the beginning of who I've been becoming since, and who I am now. Um, that was the initial leap of faith God was waiting for me to take. And so, but since then, I'm gonna get into a little backstory a little bit. A lot of you guys don't know the last 3 to 4 months, I actually was on a 16-week journey. I was on a 16-week program with the anxiety guy. I was on the Inner Circle program, one of Dennis's programs, to help heal your anxiety once and for all, and to give you the tools and the mindset and just skill sets, and just overall shift everything inside of you. I mean, it's called the Inner Circle program for reasons. Inner, it's all inner work, and it just takes you on a journey, man. It just helps you grow and takes you through so much. It just takes you through. I'm gonna get into. It. I'm gonna get. It. I'm already started talking about. It. But that's where I've been. I've been on a 16-week journey, and the reason why you guys haven't seen me for a couple months really is because during these last 2 months, I just felt it was necessary at a moment. There was a time, and it was probably I'd say the beginning of May, late April, where I said, you know what, I need to kind of slow down for a little bit. And it was just the point of the program I was in. It was probably the most crucial point of the program for me. I'm gonna get into it, and so I needed to take time just to give all my focus and energy to that. And also at the same time, I had something in my life I had some events in my life, personal life, I needed to focus all in on and really draw close to God more than I ever did in my life. And so, with all that being said, I just want to give you guys a brief little intro. Um, Again, if I seem well, I haven't done this in a couple months, so get my rhythm back. You got to work with me, all right? But no, you guys are good, and appreciate all the love, support, and everybody that's followed me through this whole process, and helped me along the way the last couple months, and all of you guys that have followed me and supported me. Since I started this a little over a year ago. And to any new subscribers here, salute to you guys. Please hit the subscribe button if you're a new viewer. Please share this content. And I know there's people from the anxiety community I've been talking to online, either on the Anxiety Guys Live and whatnot, that are asking me, hey, what's your channel and stuff? I want to come check you out. So I appreciate you guys for all the support. And please share this. But so where should I start? First off, I need some apple juice. Anywho, but all right. So when I started this podcast a little year ago, right? It was April 2nd of 2022. I don't need to get into go back and follow my recent episodes where I share, how I started that. It was not planned that day when I did that. It was just God said it was time, and I went and did it. But from that day forward, my life in the last year has slowly picked up more in terms of just growth and just overall just things just happening that wasn't planning. There was a lot of things I didn't plan on doing. There was just things that, just like my life started to take off, to be honest with you. And so the first probably 3 months of when I was doing the show, up until about mid-July, I was still battling with anxiety pretty good. It was a day-to-day thing still in my life. It was still, the health anxiety part of it was gone, but there was still just things that were, I was trying to figure out. Still, there's things that were not clicking yet. And so, but I stuck what I was doing. Doing the podcast really helped me because it helped open me up more. It helped push me. It helped. It did so much for me. It just it unlocked my potential. What I thought my potential was. It unlocked my creativity for what I thought I was capable of really doing, and it just helped my confidence too. It just gave me a feel, but it also was good for me to, if you followed me those first 3 months, it was a lot of me just really talking about what I've been through, just unloading a lot of things, and so. Along the way, I met people like Mike Antones, who's been a contributor to the show. Shout out to you, Mike. Mike's going to be on soon. Mike's had a hell of a journey the last couple months as well. And doing great now. And so, I met people along the way like Mike. A lot of people don't know that first show I did with Mike that night I did that live stream. I didn't really know Mike. I didn't really know Mike. And Mike's contacts below. You can find Mike on the bottom. But, anyway, to follow the show, Mike Antones, one of my good friends. He's a contributor to the show. We do a lot of sports stuff together. But Mike's had his journey as well. But I didn't really know Mike, so through the podcast, I became closer with Mike, and Mike's now one of my best friends, and we talk all the time privately and hang out. But we grew through that, and then also along the way through this podcast, the first 3 months, especially, it was just. It gave me something to do. It gave me something different in my life. Like it started to take me out of that old cycle I was in. You guys can remember for 7 years, I was in the same cycle every day. I mean, things changed. I moved. And it's not like my life was completely the same. There was a lot of things within those 7 years that changed. There was different times I was doing certain things or I shifted to other things. A lot happened in the world. But a lot of my life just revolved around the anxiety. At point blank period, anxiety ran my life for 7 years. And it wasn't until I finally said, you know what, that day when I did my first show, that was the beginning. And I knew it that night. When I posted it and the reaction from people, the calls I was getting from people I hadn't talked to in years, and just people I never heard of, people I didn't know, that knew of me, maybe through my parents or whatnot. It was being shared. I just knew the Lord was speaking to me that night when I did that. I knew there was something. I finally did what he's calling me to do something here. And so, again, from that point on, the first 3 months up until about mid-July, 3.5 months, whatever, I was going through that, just kind of feeling it out, unloading a lot of things, and just kind of, meeting new people on the way. And then when I got to mid-July, I started to kind of feel a little more confidence in myself and just more like, okay, you know what? I feel like I can turn this up a little more where I want it to be. I was kind of learning, like I said, learning along the way as I go, how this stuff works, like the technical stuff of it and all that. And also just getting more comfortable in front of the camera as well. It took me, it's not easy to come up here on a camera and tell a lot of these things. But I knew I was made for it. And it didn't scare me. I'm not scared of it. Wasn't scary to me, but it was it's something new. And so, like anything in life, anything new, it feels uncomfortable at first. And so that's what it was for a while for me. It was just uncomfortable. Like I said, when I got to mid-July, I started to loosen up a little more, started to feel better, started doing new things, have new people on. And then in my personal life as well, towards the end of July, August, September, both on this show and just kind of in my personal life, I started to open up to a lot of new things, things I didn't expect, but God allowed it. Anything that happens in your life, I truly God allows, and it goes through His hands first. So if He allows it, then it was meant for me. So that's kind of where I was from in that time period there, around August, September, like I said, July, and then going into the fall, and kind of just doing a lot of new things, just kind of trying, and not to say trying, but just that's not the word I was looking for. I was kind of just getting comfortable with a lot of new things, I guess you could say. Again, it was more uncomfortable things I was doing. That because the only reason why they were comfortable, because like I said, they were new, they weren't familiar, and so I was doing a lot of that in my personal life, just talking to new people, talking to people more about. I was opening up more along the way as this journey went on, even privately. Just that's kind of the theme I'm trying to lay out for you guys. Is up until, so take that from April of last year to November. It was a lot of new, unfamiliar things for me. A lot of new, it was just all growth, all trending up, but a lot of new, unfamiliar, uncomfortable things that were at the same time opening me up more. I was becoming more expressive than I've ever been, not just on here, but even privately. So, fast forward to November, and this is where things start to get a little different. I was doing fine, still battling with anxiety a little bit, but doing a lot better just with the show and everything. When I get to November, I had a night where I was home by myself, which is fine. I was at home just hanging out. There was college football was on, and I just had a moment that night. I had a weird moment, one of my old flashbacks, where I kind of just went into a panic about just an old hypochondriac thing. And it just really messed with me. This was probably mid-November, I think it was. Somewhere in November. And from that point on, I just started to slowly, that old anxiety, like the bad anxiety with the hypochondria and anxiety, constant anxiety, like day to day. Because you gotta remember, from April up until then, I was dealing with anxiety still, but it wasn't like it was not where I used to be. I come a long way. And so, but again, once this incident happened, it just slowly started to get worse. And then it just started to bring back, I think looking back now, I think it brought back a lot of memories and just a lot of flashbacks and just things that were unresolved still. But there was a piece of me that was, I think, just trying to learn how to let go more, if that makes sense. I think what I struggled with for a while, what I learned through this program the last 2 to 3 months, was really what letting go really means, and what allowing really means, and what true surrender really means. And that's what I still didn't have in my life. That was the piece that was missing. And also, too, there was another piece I didn't understand, the real root cause of everything with my anxiety. And so, but again, in November, I had this one night at home, I'm by myself, and I just kind of panicked that night. And so from that point on, I was slowly going back to who I used to be, kind of like that old anxiety. And late November, one night, I'm out on my bike. Anybody knows I cycle even all year long. And it was a November night. I'll never forget it. It was the worst panic attack I ever had in my life. The scariest one I ever went through in 8 years was in November. Um, One night I'm out on the bike, and I knew before I left I was feeling anxious. You just kind of know after a while when you leave that it's just because your mindset's not right, that you're not trending in the right direction, and eventually you could go into a full blown panic, and that's what happened. I was out on the bike. It was dark. It was because it got dark early at that time of the year. It was cold. Um, Usually I'm fine like now, like what I usually do, and I used to do that before. Didn't bother me. It was just I would always go out and do like a 20-30 minute warm up, and then I go home and I have my own gym at home. And so that's part of my routine. I was just going to go work out this night. It was a Friday night. Didn't have much going on. I was going to watch a high school football game later that night. And um, yes, I go out on this ride and I come home and, or no, excuse me, I go out on this ride. I'm thinking ahead. And as I'm on this ride, it just the panic got more intense to the point where I didn't know if I was going to make it home. That's how intense it got. And at the same time, I'm trying to slow down as best I can. But man, when you're in such a frantic stage like that, state of mind, all you're thinking about is getting to home. At least for me, because I just wanted to get to a place where I could just my home where I could just come in my door and just calm down and settle in, right? And so, but again, that experience was very scary. I might do a video down the road where I get a little more in depth about that, just to relate to you guys if you're going through extreme panic. That I understand what it's like. But all I could say is that night there was a moment where I was really, literally had to shout out to God on the bike and just ask for help because it was intense. Now, eventually, I was able to use my tools, and deep inside, I knew what it was, obviously, and it eventually passed, and I made it home. And I remember though when I made it home that night, because it was the most intense one I ever had. And mind you, I was by myself too. There was nobody around. I didn't call. Um, there was nowhere I can go. Like you just felt I was like I just felt stranded on an island on that bike, having that kind of panic attack to the point where I just felt really alone too, and I just felt really just isolated, just in my own mind. And all I could see was just this horrible movie playing in my mind of something happening to me. Right, the panic was going to resolve with something, and so. But when I made it home that night, and I finally I settled down, and I remember I just sat in my house and looked out the window for like just sat like I sat on my couch and just sat there relaxed and just gathered my thoughts, my mind, and everything. And I remember I was sitting there looking out the window though, and I started to say to myself, like, man, that's the most intense one I've ever had. But if that's as bad as it can get, then what's really holding me back? And what I mean by that is, I wasn't afraid of the panic anymore, or the anxiety, because I just had that. What I had that night was as high as it can ever get, and the circumstances, the conditions, and everything. It won't get worse than that for me. All right. But that's when I started to say, like, what's really going on here? Like, why am I? I'm not afraid of the anxiety of the panic attack because I know what that is, and I know how to prevent. I get that. I know I'm healthy. I got the hypochondria. I get that. What's really going on here? And I just, what the hell have I been waiting for? Was what I was asking myself. I was like, why am I still holding myself back? And so, man, time went on. December was a hell of a month for me. I can tell you that. A lot went on in December. I had a lot of just things I had to work through in December that challenged me because, again, I was battling the kind of that old anxiety again in a way. And so December was a tough month in a way, but it was good in a lot of ways too. It was actually looking back now, it was a very key month for me. Not just with anxiety, but a lot of things personally as well. I did letting go of things, and some things that I'm very proud of. I did, and have no regrets doing, and knew it was God called me to do some things, and I trust Him with it. And but also, I think there was a lot with the anxiety that month too. Just kind of just it was very wavy December, very wavy, and by the end of December, going into January, if you guys go back to one of my episodes back then, I talked about when my father had surgery. That was the first time I ever really went through that with somebody really close to me like that, and so that was a challenge getting through that in January, but made it through that. So once I got through that, I was starting to feel a little bit better again, kind of like my old self, a little bit. And then there was a week that happened. This is where everything started to change for me in terms of when I said, okay, I need to really do something for myself. The end of January, the last week of January, I had a week where it was right before the Super Bowl. It was right between that week, like Pro Bowl week, somewhere in there. If you follow the NFL, just give me a timeline. I had a week where I went out on a Monday night and went walking, and just had like another moment again. I guess you could say there was something where I didn't feel safe, and I remember that word "safe" because this will all make sense as I go on in the story. And so I was out walking. I think it was really cold this night, but I wanted to get a walk in. So I probably shouldn't have. But sometimes I like to just push a little bit because I like to make sure I get my exercise in. But when I was out on this walk, I just started. It was really cold and really dry air, and then I was kind of like power walking in a way because I wanted to get my, some type of workout in, or just some type of that was part of my work. I just want to get something like a rhythm going, a warm up. And I think I started like cramping on on the walk or something. But again, it made me not feel safe. And remember that because that's going to make sense down the road why I keep bringing that up. So I get home that night, and my leg was just bothering, it was just killing me. And that, to the point where I was like, I just thought something may be wrong. I was overthinking it. I was having a hypochondriac moment, like I used to. And so from that week on, from that night forward, it was just like it was just a spiral downhill. I didn't sleep from that Monday night until, I think Friday or Saturday night. I didn't sleep. I just could not sleep for a week. It was like an hour or two every night, barely, and that was it. And that was one of the most challenging weeks of my life because my anxiety was through the roof, no sleep, which makes it 10 times worse. And it was just a weird week. You know what I mean? It was just a challenging week. And I also had a lot of things going on, guys, I'd say from about December till probably about mid-April. I had some other things going on too in my personal life, just a lot of new things, but a lot of the new things I was trying to figure things out, like trying to understand things and trying to I was putting a lot of pressure on myself with some things, to be honest with you, trying to figure things out, questioning myself, and and I was kind of reverting away from what I knew was true in a way. I was slowly going back to where I'd already came out of the year prior. And so I get to that week though, and I get to about mid-February, and that's just kind of I just felt like I was hanging in there. I just felt like I was hanging in there, but I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. And I knew I was more just because all I know about anxiety and what I was already telling you guys on the show prior. I just knew okay, I got to stop this. I don't have to deal with this. I don't want to live like this. God's taking me somewhere deeper. I'm holding myself back. And I said, you know what? I need to be honest with myself. I need to let go of some things. I need to take this to a whole new level, and it's time to just do it. And so I've been thinking about the Inner Circle program already, and that's one of his programs, the Anxiety Guy. Shout out to you, Dennis. And so I just went on. I said, all right, I'm doing it. And I signed up, and it said 16 weeks. I was fully committed, and I said, I'm doing this program, and I'm giving it my all, and I expect great results coming out of it because I trust the program. I trust who made it, but also I knew most probably it's what God was calling me to do. And that's what it was. And so the beginning of the program it's kind of like a warm-up. You kind of, now I'm going to get into the program part of it. The Inner Circle program, it's a 16-week journey. And so the first probably about 4 to 5 weeks, it's kind of more like just a warm up, get to know yourself. It's a real deep dive into who you are, kind of how you think. It was kind of like feeling yourself out in a way, kind of like in terms of mentally how you think, how you perceive things, looking at things from an outsider's point of view. And it was it's like a real deep examination of yourself and why you think the way you do. Now, about the time you get to about 6, 7, 8, 9, week 10, somewhere in those weeks there, in the middle of it, that's where things start to kind of warm up a little bit, I guess you could say. You start to really kind of put it together. And what I mean by that is, in week 7 was when I found my shift. The shift I've been looking for years. I had thought of something when I was a kid. Now, anybody that goes through anxiety and panic, you'll know that usually for most people that it starts with a traumatic experience, something that initiated that anxiety. You don't just wake up with anxiety one day. It's learned behavior. It's seen habits. It's grown behavior. It's something you build on for a while. Maybe something you saw when you were younger, right? And a lot of mine was generational anxiety. Habits I saw, things I thought were normal because I saw my authority figures doing them. And so when I got to week 7, we were doing it was a morning reframing and a night reframing. And I was sitting there doing some like journaling one night on the Tuesday, I think it was. And it just finally clicked in my head. I thought of something that I never thought of. When I was a kid, when I was 6, 7 years old, so I'm in that time frame, there was a time in my life where my family and I were struggling and things weren't going well. It was just a rough period. We lived in an apartment for a year. And prior to that, I lived in a house, the same house for like 7 years, about 6 years. Yeah. So I felt very comfortable with that house. It was a very family home. My grandmother lived up the street. My cousins lived around the corner. I was around a lot of friends and people. So all of a sudden, my life, it just happened suddenly. At 6 years old, I didn't understand. We just suddenly shifted and moved to this apartment. And so when I was at this apartment, I didn't like the feeling as a kid. I didn't feel safe at this apartment. Key word, safe. And so, and I just saw all those feelings and everything. I just started to click again. I was like, man, I never thought of this. And I finally narrowed it down to safety. And it all made sense. When I would get anxiety, it's usually centered around things where times where I don't feel safe. And especially when I'm alone. Because at that apartment, I felt very lonely at 6 years old. And so, and there was just a lot going on too, in the home, and just there's a lot of things we had to work through. And so I felt very just isolated, lonely, and not safe as a 6-year-old. But a lot of people don't know when stuff like that happens when you're a kid, you don't think it's going to stay there. But as time goes on in your life and different subsequent events happen, that feeling starts to come up again because it's all connected to the initial one. And so I had a lot of things after that, right around probably at 11 years old when I had a football practice where I talked about where I kind of overheated. I just freaked out during this practice. I just had a meltdown. I just panicked and I didn't feel safe. And so from that point on, that really started to trigger the health anxiety more, and just kind of stuff I heard growing up too, because my family grew up around a lot of my authority figures had to take care of a lot of people growing up that put burdens on them, and so they just kind of, it wasn't their fault, but they were just so conditioned to worry about people and their health, because there was people in my family, like my grandfather, he was born ill, so my grandmother always had to take care of him. But my grandfather was a little more loose. If anybody knew him, he just lived his life. He didn't really care. He did it his way. And so, but that put, stress on my grandmother, because she constantly had to make sure he was doing the things he had to do, but he wouldn't do them. And so, it just put a lot of stress on the family, and plus you see those things as when my dad and my uncles were kids, they just saw things, they just weren't, it's hard to get out of your head, you know what I mean? And just, some traumatic things. And so, but again, I was able to put all this together in week 7 of the program. And my expectations going into this program was to find something deeper like that. And so things started to change in week 7. Once I figured out that shift, that the root cause of my anxiety was that event, and it was all centered around safety, then I was able to kind of just, start to reframe it more and start to really tackle that more. And at the same time, working with a therapist as well, he was helping me on the side as well to kind of really put it all together, really dive deep into it. And so as the times went on, once I got to about late April, May, I really just started to let go of a lot of things. I started to just let go, and not only with the safety and addressing that, but sorry, I need some water. My throat's dry. Man, sometimes you up here talking for a while, you start getting dry mouth and everything. Ugh. But anywho, so when I got to, so again, I lost my thought. I'm gonna look at my notes. Okay, so I get to week 7, I figure out the shift, and I start to reframe it. And as I started to reframe it, now I'm able to start looking at the current habits I want to replace, because, and this is what the program started to do as you started to go on, because you started to replace who you want to be. And you also start to look at things from an outsider's point of view. And you would start to view, when that negative thoughts come in your head, you could use it as like a negative voice talking to you. Or in essence, you take the power away from it, if that makes sense. And so you start to learn a lot of new tools and skill sets. So once I figured out that shift in the root cause, I was now able to use all the tools, the shifts, or the tools and the skill sets and the reframing practices towards it. And as time went on, I started to feel different. Like I just started to feel lighter. I started to feel just a change within me. I started to just really and also there was things going on in my life personally at the time that I was trying to let go of, and God was waiting on me to let go of and just trust Him. And instead of me trying to figure it out or trying to force things, and God just led me to that point in the program, and I started to let go. And I just started to let go, and I started to feel myself allowing more, and I started to just feel myself just, anytime I got a thought, a negative thought or something, or anxiety my mind would start to say, hey, we need to worry about this coming up, this upcoming event, or this situation you're in. I just kind of said, nah, I'm safe, I'm good. And I started to become more familiar, just more, not say familiar, I started to become more just accepting and more a great relationship with the unknown, to the point where I just trust it. Like, I don't really care what happens right now. Nothing's ever happened to me. That those thoughts that what I fear has never come true to this point. So why worry about it now? And I know what it is now. I know what it centers around. It's from that event. And a lot of times too, guys, those same feelings I had as a kid were the same feelings I felt now. That's how I know it's connected. The same exact feelings, the same everything. And the big events I had after that in my life when I was a teenager that caused me bad panic attacks and just, all that, same feelings. All the same. And yeah, and so once I started to just put it all together, and I just started letting go more. And at this time too, in May, Dennis came out with the letting go meditation, which I started doing that every day, and that started helping me more and more, just not the layer added to it. But I just started to feel a lot lighter. And not only that, the most important thing that in the month of May was very key for me, because the month of May, I had some things going on in my personal life I was excited about. People coming back, close family members moving back home, that I was excited about. But also just spiritually, I just started to hand it over to God more. And I just started to pray like I never prayed before. And the program just helped me to, once I got to about weeks 11, 12, 13, and on to 16, I just started to let go more. And I just started, by letting go more, it grew me more in my faith spiritually. And it just, it was like God started to speak to me, started to make things more clear to me, things that I finally couldn't understand, that I finally started to see more clearly. And yeah, that's what it was. And so I finished the week 16 this past Sunday, last weekend, and it was the last day, day 7 of week 16. Felt great. Um, Felt great during it. Once I figured out that shift, and then once the last like 3 to 4 weeks, I just felt the shift happening. I just felt the letting go, just finally the clarity of my life I was looking for, and just the anxiety just gone. You know what I mean? Just I mean I don't have moments still, but that's always you're always gonna have feelings within us. So the difference between me now and a year ago was I don't let things linger anymore. I just allow things to happen in that moment. I just view it as moments. And I just go on with my day. It's not who I am. I don't identify with anxiety anymore. I don't allow anxiety to control my life anymore. I truly just allow and just embrace new things now, and just most point I just trust God more with everything. And that's what the biggest thing the inner circle program helped me with was finding that shift, but also um, helping me grow more spiritually. God used it to reach me because there was something he was trying to tell me, and I wasn't listening to him like I should have been. And so that's sometimes that's why things happen in our life. That's why those weeks back in January, all these things that happened to me before this program happened, because I think it was looking back now, it was God just slowing me down, trying to get my attention. He had to allow things to happen to get me to where he wanted me to go, to line me up to where he wanted me to go, right? And so, um, yeah, that's where I've been. Where I am now is just I feel a lot more lighter now. I feel a lot more confident. I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. And this past month, this June, has even been even more of a spiritual dive. And I'm gonna get into that in my later episodes. um, Kind of what I've been going through this month currently, and how I've really let go of a lot of things, and I just feel I just feel like the 8 years are finally done. You know what I mean? I just the last 7 years, and just it's over with now, and that I'm turning the page for once and for all now, and just moving forward in my life, and just looking forward to all the new things, and just embracing new things and chasing things. Finally, allow myself to let go and do the things that I want to do, and most probably following God and His will, and just trusting Him and letting go. And so that's where I've been. Whew, I'm a little tired, man. But that's where I've been. Um, Highly recommend the Inner Circle program if you guys are looking for a great program to follow. Highly recommend that one. I'll link it below. Go follow Dennis, the Anxiety Guy. But yeah, that's where I am. It's where I've been. I'm back now, though. Better than I've ever felt in my life. And, just let go, guys. That's all I could say. That's the biggest theme through all this the last 16 weeks has just been the letting go and allowing and trusting God with the outcome. That's really all it is. It's that simple, because for 7 years, for a long time, longer than that, there was just in my life, I always struggled with faith. I always struggled with, not being able to not try to control things and let go of things. It was putting pressure on me. And so through all this, the last 16 weeks, I was able to finally just restart and kind of just, reset and just kind of figure out who I really am and who I want to be, and figure out what was really driving that anxiety all those years. And I figured it out. And I think now from going forward, it's just, implementing more new things and continuing all the good habits that got me to this point. You don't stop the things that got you where you got to. You keep going, you keep diving deeper, more importantly, into my spiritual growth. And, just let God lead me from here, just allow things to happen naturally. And so, um, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in today. I'll be back soon with more episodes of The Real, more of my sharing more experiences and that I've been through. And so, trying to think of anything. No, that's all I got for you guys. If you're new here, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And yeah, it feels good to be back. I wanted to come on and do this just to kind of give you guys a quick update, kind of where I've been, what I've been going through, and kind of warm this back up a little bit with the reel. And so it feels good to be back, coming back better than I ever was before, stronger than I've ever been before. Um, yeah, just a whole new me now, I guess you could say. And just finally feel like just settled and grounded, and just just feel like I could finally just move forward now, like I said, and just I can't. It's just been awesome, guys, because it's really incredible to sit here to sit here today and share this with you guys. Because I was waiting for this moment to finally get to this point in my life where I can say, okay, I know what was causing that anxiety all those years, and also to the point now where I finally feel confident enough to turn the page and really move forward. And so it's a great place to be. And if you're somebody out there struggling with anxiety, um, you can get there too. If I can get there, you can get there. Period. And so I'm supposed to go. I know I was going to close out, but no. I mean, um, trying to think. Oh, if you're somebody going through anxiety, um, just understand that it's just a chapter in your life. That this will end, and that you can turn the page, and that um, you know it's all up to you. And it didn't turn for me until I said it was enough, and I said no more. And so that's what I did, and that's what I did in February. I said, all right, you know what? Time for me to take this to the next level. And so why hold myself back? And so that's what I did. It was the greatest decision I ever made in my life. And so shout out to you, Dennis. Shout out to the anxiety community, but shout out to you, Dennis, for all the help you helped me with, and that help you've really helped me get to this point now in my life. Um, Again, hell of a program. Highly recommend it for wherever you are in your anxiety program. Start with the Inner Circle program. Hell of a program. The best program there is, in my opinion. And so check it out, and give it and just commit to it. Just let yourself be and just let go, and just just allow things to happen. Anxiety is just an energy within you. Once you start to make a better relationship with that, which is what I did by allowing more, was when things start to change for me. And now I'm at a point now where I feel I'm at a point now where I feel like I can, like I said, I can really let go now and really do the things that I've always haven't been able to do for a long time, just because I was letting anxiety hold me back like a handicap. And again, still just I still just allow, not rushing things, I'm not hurrying into things or anything like that, but just I understand now just more than ever that things are right where they need to be, and that God's timing is perfect, and that um, you know um, I'm right where I need to be. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Like everything's right where it needs to be, and that you know anxiety is nothing really. It's an illusion we create in our mind, and the fear is an illusion we create in our mind. It's false evidence appearing real, which is what fear really stands for. And just really letting go, and just yeah, that's just where I am now in my life. It's just letting go and just moving forward and just embracing the new things one day at a time, one step at a time, and just yeah, it's really all I could say, guys. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Like it's just where I'm at. It's just letting go and just allow myself to just be. And it takes a while to get there, because I think one thing, this I'll close out here, I promise. But one thing I didn't understand that I learned along the way with this Inner Circle program is the stages of anxiety. And what I mean by that is a lot of people stay in the frantic stage. They stay in a stage of franticness. And where basically what that is you're just living day to day with your anxiety. You're always like trying to be on defense mode of stopping anxiety. When in reality, the goal should be not to stop anxiety, but to allow it, and to allow it to pass through. Because the more you do that, you get out of that frantic stage and become more into a allowing stage, and more of a letting go stage, and surrendering stage is basically what it is. Surrendering to the anxiety is what you're doing. And the more you surrender to the anxiety, the more you start to realize what it really is. And once you get past that frantic stage, the symptoms, what you're feeling, everything, and you can move on from that, now you're able to, like I got to in week 7 of the program, you're able to really dial in. You really just say, okay, what's really going on here, right? You're almost like a coach watching film, breaking down a team. You're kind of like, okay, what are they really doing here? Like, well, what's their game plan? Like, what's really, you know what I mean? Like, you really could break it down the root cause. And so that's what I did. And once you get past that frantic stage, you figure out that shift, guys, everything starts to change for you. And you just start to feel a lot more just settled and just a lot more, um, if anxiety hits or something happens, you just trust. You know what I mean? You just trust more and you just let go. And the more you trust and the more you let go, it's really game over for the anxiety. Doesn't mean, and also you start to view things for what they really are. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're going through, it's it just is. You know what I mean? It's normal. A lot of times anxiety makes us think everything's unnormal. That was me for a long time. I thought things were unnormal and I would start to compete with it and try to get rid of it and battle with it. But then what I learned though was no, it's it's not that. Don't give it energy. Just allow it to pass through. And that's what the program taught me. And that's what the program helped me with. And the most importantly, connecting more with God and understanding why God allows certain things, understanding that everything's in His hands. And what I forgot along this journey was in 7 years through all that I went through, excuse me, well, all that I went through for 7 years, God always held me in His right hand. My worst fear never happened. A lot of people in the position I was in at times, guys, probably wouldn't have made it. I was in some pretty dark spots at some times in that 7 year journey, especially in the beginning of it, in the middle of it, probably years 1 to 4. There's some pretty dark times, and 99% of people probably wouldn't have made it through what I went through because that's how deep it was with the anxiety. But only by God and the grace of God, He held me through and always kept my hope alive and always kept me upright and kept me where I needed to be. And He kept telling me eventually you're going to get there, and I got there. And so uh, now it's just looking forward to where He's taking me next, and it's exciting and just allowing one step, one day at a time. And so yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. If you're new here, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.